Hey there, welcome to class. Today we're going to be working on several restorative poses. It's going to be less of a vinyasa flow class. We're going to be doing more floor work, cooling poses to help release and open the legs and the low back. So I hope you enjoy it. I would recommend that you have at least one block, maybe two, a strap or a belt, and blankets or a towel, something that can substitute that. So we're going to start actually in child's pose, grabbing the blanket or towel, putting it in a roll. So just rolling it up, nice and cushy. You can even roll two together to make it a little bit bigger, a little bit more bulky. And then we're going to come into child's pose. So we're going to start with the knees about the width of the mat, the big toes touching behind you. This may be where another blanket comes in handy. If it's sore or too much opening on the backs of the legs or knees, you can always place a blanket underneath the hips. And then we're going to place the other blanket right in between the legs so that you can roll down onto it to give your head something to lay on for a little bit more of a restorative child's pose. You're welcome to experiment with this and adjust, finding the right pose for you. Maybe taking a couple breaths with the head, with either side of the head on the bolster. And then we're just going to tap into the breath here. Allowing the body to relax as you breathe, the mind to start to slow down. And as you breathe here, do a body scan starting with the top of the head, making your way down the back, down the hips and legs. Let the belly relax as well. And then count out about 5 more breaths here. Switch sides on the head just to get an equal opening on the neck and the shoulders. And then with an inhale, just start to peel yourself up and off the fold. Slide the block or the blankets out from underneath you. Then we're going to come into a tabletop, so onto the hands and knees. Just warming up the spine, bringing the wrists right underneath the shoulders, the knees underneath the hips, about hips width apart. And doing some cat-cows here. If you have any wrist issues or if they're bothering you, walk the hands forward a little bit, just so the wrists are stacked right underneath the shoulders, and pivot the fingers out so that the middle fingers are pointing at about 2 and 11 on the clock. And then with an inhale, let the chest lift, the sit bones spread behind you. And as you exhale, round the upper back, tuck the chin in, hug navel to spine. And then inhale into cow pose. Again, letting the belly drop gently, not a deep arch in the low back. Letting the breath fill the chest, and then as you exhale, round the upper back, hug navel in, let the neck soften, chin tucks towards chest. And one more flow here, just breathing, coming into cow on the inhale, and cat tilt on the exhale. Good. And then with an inhale, flatten the back. Sit the hips down towards child's pose again, walking the hands out. As a measurement for down dog, keep the palms where they are. Lift the hips, tuck the toes, and just press up and back, downward facing dog. And once you're here, take a couple movements, bending one knee, stretching opposite heel to earth, and then changing sides. So this is going to help us get into the backs of the legs. You can even shift the hips gently side to side. And then look side to side with the head, releasing neck. Draw shoulders down and away from the ears. Then we're going to take 3 more breaths. So again, we're slowing it down Breathe into the backs of the legs, the backs of the hips, lengthening the tailbone, the sitting bones up towards the ceiling, getting longer in the spine. And then from here, walk the hands with your exhale back towards the feet, coming to fold at the back of the mat. Or you can come up and just walk back to a fold. Bring the feet about hips width apart, toes spread wide, and grab opposite elbows, just letting the head and neck hang here. Keep the knees slightly bent here. And then to access the backs of the legs, we are going to keep the heels planted on the earth, but just shift the weight slightly forward into the balls of the feet. So you're going to feel the toes gripping just a little bit more, and that's going to help lengthen the backs of the legs. And then from here, maybe straighten one leg, bend the opposite knee. And then change sides, really letting the torso relax, the shoulders stay soft. And then change sides. And then straighten both legs. And take 3 more breaths here. Maybe gently look side to side. Shake the head out, yes and no. Then from here, with your exhale, bring the hands to the mat. We're going to step the feet wide across the mat, so keep the knees bent as you do this. And then we're going to angle the toes in towards each other and the heels slightly away from each other. So you're going to be slightly pigeon-toed. And then lengthen the spine with the inhale. Keep the knees slightly bent here. We don't want to put too much pressure in the backs of the knee joints. And then as you exhale, fold back down, this time in a wide Prasarita fold. Let the head and neck relax. And again, rather than pressing and dumping all of the weight into the backs of the heels, bring the weight slightly forward into the balls of the feet just to even out the distribution of weight between the front and the back of the foot. You can keep the hands on the mat. You can also grab one of your blocks and use that if you just need to bring the earth a little bit closer towards you. If that will help you find more ease in the low back especially, we don't want to be pulling at the low back just to get deeper into a fold. We want to keep the back nice and long. Just get it to a point where you're starting to feel that opening in the backs of the legs. If you need a little bit more depth, you can bring the hands to ankles, let the head hang towards the center of the mat. Find the pose that works for you and hold for 3 breaths. This is accessing the backs of the legs, the hamstrings, the backs of the hips. Good, and then from here, bring the hands to the mat in front of you, bend the knees, and then just slowly start to heel toe the feet together. We're going to make our way back down onto the earth, so plant one knee and then the other, and we're going to come all the way onto our bellies. We're going to come into Sphinx pose next. So you're going to bring the forearms to the earth, elbows right underneath the shoulders here. So the fingertips are spread wide, the chest is lifting forward and up over the top of the mat. And then just draw the shoulders down and away from the ears, press actively into the forearms, tops of feet are planted to the mat as well. And then breathe. So we're going to feel this opening in chest and collarbones, maybe a gentle stretch through the front of the body. You shouldn't feel this in the low back, so try to relax the butt muscles, the superficial butt muscles and thigh muscles. Just let them be soft here. And breathe. Always breathe. Good, and then from here, bring the forehead to the mat. We're going to walk the hands in line with the belly button. So they're going to be not right underneath the shoulders, a little bit further back. And the elbows are pointing straight up towards the sky, hugging in towards each other. Bring navel to spine. You're going to feel the pubic bone press into the earth. The tops of the feet stay planted. And then with an inhale, just lift the chest here like you're going to come into a cobra pose. And then lift the legs, hugging them in towards the center. But it's not important that they're touching completely. We just don't want them to spread out wide. That's going to compress the low back. So breathe here. What this is doing is helping strengthen the low back. Try to grow longer from collarbones to toes. Keep the chin neutral here, not yanking or pulling up with the neck. And then as you exhale, gently release. Bring side of the head to the mat. Arms by your sides, by your hips, and then bend the knees here and gently windshield wiper the legs side to side. This is a good release for the low back. Good. We're going to do one more round of locust, just giving you another option of depth here. So tops of feet to the earth, we're going to start the same, forehead to ground, hands in line with the belly button. And then from here, you can stay in the same variation that we did the first time, but if you want to change it up, maybe interlace the hands behind the back, right at the low back and tailbone. And then navel draws in towards spine, butt muscles relax as the pubic bone presses to earth. And then as you breathe in, lift the chest, lift the legs, draw the shoulders away from the ears. Keep the neck soft and gentle, especially the jaw too. And breathe here. With your exhale, release back down, bring opposite cheek to mat, arms by the sides, and do that windshield wiper of the legs one more time, just to really let the back release. Good. And then from here, bring the hands underneath the shoulders, press up and back. We're going to come back into child's pose, so knees as wide as the mat, big toes touch, sit hips back towards heel, or again, grab the blanket to sit the hips onto. And then extend the arms forward, head forward, resting forehead to mat, letting the belly and chest breathe between the thighs. And then with an inhale, we're going to come up to seated. Bring the legs out in front of you. Just sit to one side and swing the legs out in front of you, or however is most comfortable to get to a seated position. And then we're going to step the left foot over the right leg. Keep both sitting bones grounded on the mat, so both sides of the hips are equally planted to the mat. And then lift through the spine. So we're going to come into a twist here, and we want to make sure that we're approaching all of our twists with a long back, because doing a twist with a round back only pulls and yanks in parts that we don't really want to get into. So we want to keep a nice tall spine, and then with an inhale, reach the arms up overhead. As you exhale, bring the left fingertips gently behind you and hook that right elbow over the lifted knee. Again, re-lengthen, inhale. And exhale, navel hugs in to twist and open chest gently. We're not pushing or forcing here. We're just allowing the spine to unwind, to find some ease and relaxation, especially after that locust pose where we're building the muscles in the low back. So just let yourself find ease and release. And then with your next inhale, come off of the twist, and exhale, counter twist to the other side, just gently. And then come back around. We're going to change sides on the twist. So left foot extends out, right foot steps over the knee. Get long, sit up on the sitting bones, lengthen the spine. Inhale, arms extend high. And exhale, right fingertips gently behind left elbow hooks. Before you twist, lengthen spine. And then as you exhale, hug navel in. Neck is soft. You can take half circles with the neck, bringing one ear towards one shoulder, and then releasing chin towards chest and ear, opposite ear to the shoulder. And change directions. Good, and just take a few more breaths on this side of the twist. And then inhale, come off of the twist, and exhale, just an easy counter twist the other direction, just to unwind the spine. Good, and then from here, inhale, come back, extend the legs forward. We're gonna take a double pigeon pose, which is really good to help open the hips. Sometimes low back pain and strain is caused from tight hips. So just seeing how this pose feels for you. We're gonna start by bringing one shin to the earth, keeping the leg at about a 90 degrees, so bending at that knee, and then hooking the opposite ankle. So we're gonna start with the right leg under, hooking left ankle on top of that right knee. The heel on this left foot is gonna be off of that right thigh. So it's just gonna be hanging off the thigh. And then the shins come parallel. This is a tough pose for me, so you can see I have a lot of space here between my left knee and my right foot, but I want to try to keep the shins as parallel as possible as I come into this pose. Keep the feet active as well, so flex the toes towards the kneecaps and press out through the heels. That's going to help protect the knees. Good, and then we're just going to start with the fingertips behind, lift the chest, the collarbones, tuck chin towards the chest as well. Maybe close the eyes here and just see how this pose feels in your body. So for me, I feel a lot of opening in the outer thighs, in the outer hips. So staying here, if this is comfortable, if this is a good depth. If you want to deepen, walk the hands forward as you start to fold over the legs. Maybe experiment, just see what depth is right for you. I'm going to stay back here, keeping my heart and chest open as I access the hips. We're going to hold here for about 3 to 5 more breaths, so try to stay with it and try to stay connected to breath. Good. One more big breath in here and big breath out. We're going to change sides, so bring a little bit of weight into the hands and then gently unhook the legs, straighten them out and shake out the legs, shake out the hips, just releasing that opening. And then we're going to change sides on the same pose. So we're going to bring the left leg under, shin is parallel towards the top of the mat, and then right ankle hooks over left knee. Again, trying to make sure that the shins stay parallel. So the arch on this lifted foot is in line with the left heel. The knee on this right side is in line with the bottom arch, bottom foot. And just see what the side feels like. Notice any difference. Bring the fingertips behind. Let the heart open as you gently release the feet down towards the earth. So rather than hugging them in towards the chest and rounding forward, we want to open up here, letting the legs relax towards earth and the chest expand towards the ceiling. Again, keeping the feet active, especially if it's bothering the knees. Really flex toes towards the kneecaps and reach out through the heels. So we want to open the hip. We don't want to put any pressure on the knee. So that's what that activation of foot is going to help us do. And then again, maybe close the eyes. Just see how this side may feel different from the other. Maybe a little bit more open or tighter than the other side. And to have that difference is normal. It happens. Sometimes we favor one side over the other. So just explore what you notice, what you feel in this pose. We're going to take about 3 to 5 more breaths. Oh, and again, if you do want to deepen, you're welcome to fold over if you did on the other side. Just try to stay even with the depth of each side. Good. And then with an inhale, open the eyes. Bring a little bit of weight into the hands behind you. Lift the legs towards chest and then unhook them and gently rock them out. Release hips, legs, toes, even ankles. Then we're going to come back onto our spines. So just come around, scoot forward so that you have space on the mat to roll back onto. And then hug the knees and gently rock side to side if this feels comfortable in the low back. If this is too much, just keep the thighs hugging in towards chest. You can even bring the hands to the backs of the thighs to lessen the intensity, or wrap the elbows around grabbing the forearms to increase the intensity of this pose. So pick again, finding that depth that's right for you. You can rock side to side if that's good, otherwise stay still. Just feeling that low back gently release and relax. Good. So we're going to plant the feet to the earth, coming into bridge pose. Bring the feet hips width apart and just lightly touch the fingertips to the heels. So we want those heels close enough to just lightly touch. Low back to mat, so pull navel to spine. And then with an inhale, press the feet into the earth, lift the hips, peeling the back off 1 inch at a time. Keep thighs hugged in towards each other. And we're just going to take a few breaths here. You have an option with the hands to keep them by your side, or perhaps bend at the elbows, press the forearms to the earth, and use that to remind yourself to puff the chest up. So rather than trying to deepen the arch in the low back, we want to start to bring the arch up into the thoracic spine between the shoulder blades. Keep chin tucked towards chest and breathe. You're going to feel the thighs working a little bit. And then with your exhale, bring the hands back to the mat. Roll down the spine 1 vertebrae at a time. So upper back, middle back, finally the lower back and hips plant. Once the hips are down, bring the feet wide, let the knees touch together. And you can either release the hands by the sides or bring them onto your torso. This is a great counter pose for bridge pose. In just a moment, we're going to be moving our mats to the wall. So just take another 3 breaths here, focusing on sending the breath to the low back to allow it to relax and release. And just gently start to make your way to one side, pressing up to seated. And we're going to bring our mats to the wall, skinny edge on the wall. Make sure that there are any props that you have in the way are slid a little further away from the wall, because we will be using the sides of the wall. We just want to make sure that accessible, we have a strap and at least a blanket. So I'm just going to set those aside. And then we're going to come onto our backs, bringing the feet right up against the wall, straightening the legs, and then starting to come back onto the spine. You may need to scoot yourself forward just a little bit so that the heels are pressing up against the wall. Good, and we're going to start here, get comfortable on the back. Grab a hold of your strap. It can be in a long loop or it can just be folded in half. We're going to bend the right knee in with an inhale and loop the strap on the bottom of the foot, extending that leg up towards the sky. And then just draw the hands, slide the hands down your strap or belt or whatever you're using so that you can just let the shoulders and the arms relax. We will be giving a little bit of pressure downward into the strap, but you don't want to be straining or shaking or pulling at the arms. So we're going to activate through both feet, pressing actively through heels, flexing toes towards kneecaps on both legs. So you're going to feel the left leg pressing into wall and the right foot reaching tall to the ceiling. To intensify this pose, if you need more of a stretch, bring the leg closer to the chest. If you need less of a stretch, slide that heel closer to the wall. So just find the pose, the point of this pose that's right for you. You start to get an opening through the back of the leg, And you want to imagine as if we were pressing the top of this right thigh bone down into the hip socket, down into the earth, creating a deeper connection of that leg into the pelvis. And then just take a few breaths here. Good, and then with an exhale, gently bend that leg, remove the strap, and extend the right leg onto the wall alongside the left. And just notice what you feel, if there's any difference here. For me, I notice that my right leg feels a little bit shorter than my right leg feels shorter than my left leg. So just notice for yourself. And then we're going to change sides. So with an inhale, hug left knee in, hoop the strap around the bottom of that left foot, slide the hands down the strap so that the arms can relax. And then we're going to activate through both feet. So press right foot into wall and extend left heel up towards the sky, giving a little bit of downward pressure. So the placement of the strap is right along the ball of the foot on the left leg. Again, adjust the angle of this lifted leg so that you're getting the activation and the opening that's right for you. And then just take a few breaths and breathe. Feeling that pressing down, that activating of left thigh bone into hip socket. Good, one more deep breath in here. And deep breath out, just bend the left leg, remove the strap, set it off to the side. And just take a moment lying with the legs, the feet touching, the legs on the ground, the feet touching the wall. Hopefully they feel more even now. And then with a next exhale, just roll to one side, come up to seated. And we're going to scoot ourselves a little bit closer to the wall now. So come all the way, one hip touches the wall. And then we're going to roll onto the back and swing the legs up the wall. And then you may need to scoot yourself down. We want the sitting bones just lightly touching the wall and the legs straight up. And then from here, make sure your blanket or towel is close by. And we're going to slide that under the hips. So bend the knees, planting feet to wall. Lift the hips and slide the the blanket under the low back here. So you're going to feel like the sitting bones are hanging off of the edge. And you can adjust it up or down so that you feel comfortable. We don't want to feel too much of an arch in the low back. So if you're feeling that, slide it down towards the sit bones. And then just get comfortable. You can adjust the shoulders, the neck, the head. And then just let your body relax. So a lot of times we're on our feet all day. So this is a great way to let all the fluids, all the blood just drain down the legs, down the hips. It's a very subtle inversion. It's really good for digestion. And it's great for releasing pressure in the low back. So we're going to take about 3 more breaths in this variation of legs up the wall. Allow the eyes to close and the breaths start to steady out. And then from here, bend the knees, bring the bottoms of feet to wall, and just slide this blanket out from underneath you. Extend the legs back up the wall. And with an exhale, we're just going to draw an arc with the right heel, releasing this foot down towards the ground. So we're going to have a nice wide leg here, an angle between the legs. If you would like to, grab a block and place that block underneath the thigh at a point that feels like a comfortable support here. Or you can just let that leg hang out if that feels okay in the hip joint. So pick what's right for you. Without the block, it will allow gravity to do a little bit more work. With the block, it will be maybe a bit more relaxing. So just again, see what works best for you and your body right now. And as you breathe, allow the diaphragm to expand, expanding low belly. And as you exhale, feel the navel gently contract in towards spine. This steady breath also helps with digestion, helps ease the muscles in the core and the low back. Good, and then with an inhale, just bring a slight bend to the right knee. You can even bring your hand to the right leg as you draw it back up the wall. And with an exhale, we're gonna slowly let the left leg slide down towards the earth. Keep extending straight up through right heel, out through left leg. Again, grab a block if you would like to, placing it underneath thigh. Or just lay with the foot either on the ground or just hovering above. But the heels are definitely on the wall. And then again, return to breath. Close the eyes. Let the belly fill with the inhale. And that navel gently pull back with the exhale. We're just going to take 2 more breaths here. Good, and then with an inhale, bring hand to left leg, bend that knee and slide the heel up the wall. With an exhale, allow the knees to bend in towards the chest. Again, make sure that you don't have any props to either side of you, so just slide them out of the way. And with an exhale, we're going to let the feet draw down the wall and the legs come towards the left side. And gaze over the right shoulder. So this is going to be a reclined twist, which also helps release the back and help digestion. If this is too much of an angle for you, lift the feet, slide yourself away from the wall a few inches, and then lower them back down. So it's going to be a little bit less of a stretch, less of the height of the twist changes when we adjust the legs. So find what's right for you. And then with an inhale, gently draw the legs back up the wall. And as you exhale, change sides, letting them lower to the right. And gaze is over the left shoulder. Just letting this left shoulder relax down towards the mat. And then with an inhale, slide legs back up the wall, extend them long. So this is a really great restorative pose. I encourage you to stay in this for a little bit longer if you have the time. But I am going to leave you here. So stay if you have time and you're comfortable. Maybe change the variation, sliding that blanket under the hips if that felt really good. Otherwise, we'll close out, drawing legs to earth, rolling to one side, and making your way up to seated. Good. And then just taking a breath to close out your practice. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that these poses helped you find some ease in low back and legs. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much. Namaste.